So this is lecture 12. We're reviewing the home survey, and now we're going to input that information into Revit. So to prepare my Revit file, I'm going to take a look at the hand-drawn survey, and I'm going to look at my overall dimensions. For the house I drew, it was 28'5" by 28'6", almost a perfect square. I'm going to establish grids on all four sides, and then I'm going to go to elevations and look at level heights. So let's flip over to Revit, where you'll see how I have imported my aerial site, and I'm about to import the survey that I took a picture of and saved on my computer. So here I'm in Revit. If you want to import an image so that you have something to go on, we're going to go to the Insert tab. We're going to go to Image. You are going to find the item you want to import. Say OK, and select the page. So I took a picture of my survey so that I would have a reference here for you to take a look at. If I want to get the outlying boundaries of the home, I import an aerial. But let's start with grids first, and then we'll scale the aerial so that I understand my lot lines. Under the Architecture tab, we have grids, or we can type in GR. I'm going to make one grid. Here, and I'm going to call it 1. If I want the bubble to be on the opposite side, I touch the line and check mark. I want my house to represent 28 feet, 5 inches wide. So I copy that. And then I want grids. This is in the plan view, again, in the opposite direction. You can do this in plan or in the site view. Once I click back over to the plan, you'll see that this shows up in that view as well. So let's do grids in the opposite manner. I'm going to call that A. And my long dimension is 28'6", so I'm going to copy that down, 28'6" inches. And now I have the perimeter overall volume of my home. If I want to understand the sight lines, a very basic way of doing that would be to import the aerial and stretch the image. I can use a detail line, DL, and see if you have a property line. I have many lines, but I don't know that you'll have all of those. I'm going to click property line. And trace over the property. I'm going to hide this, element hide. And now I see that I have property lines. If you have an actual deed or survey to reference, and you want to draw in your accurate property lines, you can go to Massing and Site. There's a property line tab. I'm going to create it by entering distances and bearings. This can be written out or drawn on your survey, and you're simply going to write in the measurements that the survey asks you for. So it might be 45 feet at north, 90 degrees, 45 minutes, 8 seconds east. If you don't have that document to reference, this is not going to make sense. But you continue doing this for every line You can insert to close the loop. Inserting will give you another row so that you can place in new distances. I'm going to cancel that. Now we drew 3 walls in my example to represent the types of walls represented in the home I was surveying. You may have more. What I want you to do is with WA, draw 3 walls in your plan. I'm in site plan, so I'm going to go back over to my level 1 plan. My crop region is in the wrong place, so I'll adjust that. Hopefully you don't need to do that. Okay. So again, let's draw a wall WA. Let's see what wall comes up for you, and copy that 3 times. We're going to adjust these for the wall types you need. Once you've drawn the number of wall types, if you cannot see the dash, line, or hatch, go down and check your coarse, medium, and fine. That way you can see the hatch marks and you understand the type of wall we're using. So let's select wall 1. Let's focus on an interior wall here. Let's go to the properties bar and flip down the properties menu. Are you able to find any wall that is a 2x4 wood with a 1/2 inch GYP? That's called gyp board. You also might have a notation GWP, gyp wall board. If you don't have that, that is okay. Let's touch the wall. We're going to edit type. That is here. And this brings up its type properties. The button we need to worry about in here is edit, but again, we don't want to manipulate existing components in Revit. We want to duplicate them first. Let's duplicate it. You can name this type 1 interior wall. And you can call it a 2x4 wood and hit OK. Now that I've duplicated the wall, I'm going to edit it. In here, we tell Revit the construction of our wall. You can copy exactly what I have here. And the main idea is for you to get the proper thickness. You need to make sure, let's say you need to insert another layer. Let's say we have another layer of insulation, you think. When you insert that, see how structure 1 comes on the top. I can move this down into the wall so that it is on the interior or exterior or up. And we can call it part of the structure or part of the finish. If you choose to change this, you just need to make sure that your numbers go from the structure of 1 outward to the larger number of 5, the finish. I'm going to delete this because my wall was okay. And you're going to hit OK. Now I want to tag that wall so I know it's always type 1. So I'm going to say TG for tag, touch the wall, and I should have a horizontal tag that shows up here. You can manipulate the type of tag by clicking this button, but I think it should come up automatically for you. So you're going to do that for each of your walls. So here I have my exterior wall. I'll show you the structure of it. I edited type. And then I clicked this edit button to bring me to this tab. It shows me that I have a stud wall, wood stud wall, insulation, sheathing, and plank. I know that's not the case. I know I don't have insulation, so I'm going to delete this layer. And it looks like I don't have any gypboard on the exterior. So let's insert. I'm going to move what came in down so that it's on the right side. If you have the option of calling this gyp when you click the three dots, I type in GWP in the search bar, and I'm going to select the 1/2 inch gypsum board. Hit OK. It is a 1/2 inch typically in a residential home, and I'm going to change the structure to a finish. I also can look at the dimension of the wall. Is that similar to what you expected it to be, what we measured it to be? Mine is a little thicker at 5 3/4. So I'm going to just make my substrate because I don't exactly know what the wall is made of, and that updates to 5 1/2. So I guess I want that one. Okay, almost 5 3/4. I'm going to hit OK. OK again. On my survey, name that what you named it on your survey. In this case, this one is 1 for me. This one, interior wall, is 3. And I gave an example of a CMU, 8-inch CMU wall here. If you have CMU walls in your home, that means they are actually 7 5/8 inch. Okay, I'm going to call this 4. I'm going to use, for the purposes of our lesson, number 1 for all of my exterior walls. So I have a guide here. I'm zooming out, and I'm going to draw without. I can click on the wall that I'd like. I'm going to rename mine just exterior. If you are already at this step, you can start to look at your survey. And I'm going to suggest that you use the method of drawing a detail line outline, and then we're going to match or align the walls to those lines. So let's say I have a house that has like a projecting L, right? And then a little area that looks like this. Maybe I just do DL for detail line and say, okay, the first wall is 15 feet, then 5 feet, then 4 feet. And depending on whether or not you took exterior or interior dimensions, you could do that for both sides. But I think the detail line method, at least for me, is the easiest way to input a project. You can click on the wall and right click and create similar. And look at the overall shape of your home. Again, not worried about my dimensions yet. I'm just putting in the shape. Now let's look at our survey. Let me dimension my grid lines to make sure that everything is aligned properly. I'm going to go back to my site plan to copy, Control C, Control Tab to flip quickly, Control V, and here I can see the dimensions of my home. I also have this near my computer screen, and I am highlighting the dimensions as I read them. Okay? So as I perfect my first dimension, 28'6", I'm going to highlight it so that I understand where I am in the plan. And then as I go around the home, I will highlight the dimensions. So maybe you want to take a picture of your home before you start highlighting it. So now that I've placed the perimeter walls, I want those walls within my grid lines. I'm going to use AL, the line. I'm going to touch the grid that I want to remain, and then touch the exterior of the house. I'm not going to lock it yet. Again, the plane that you want it to move to, and the thing you want to move. Plane that stays, wall that moves, all the way around. Okay, so I know the 28'6" is correct. I'm just going to then go around my entire wall, perimeter, making the adjustments. The next one I dimensioned at 24'4", so I'll use my dimensions string to ask myself what it is. It's not quite there. I touch the wall I want to move, touch the dimension, and type in 24'4". This dimension should be 13'9". Not a bad guess. Touch the wall, and then touch the dimension you would like to change. If I want to string dimensions, right, if I don't want to hit the dimension or DI every time, I can go from the dimension I've already started by touching the dimension and hitting the edit witness line and continuing it on. So that gives me a string of dimensions. 14'9" is close to the 14'8" that I have on my sheet, and this final dimension should be 28'5". What about the offset? I needed that on the porch to be 4'1.5". What is it? Only a ½ inch off. I'm going to leave that. That's not too bad. So within an inch, if your object closes, then you've done a great survey. I can tag these walls to remind myself that I have drawn the exterior wall. I just typed in TG for tag. Again, if you need keyboard shortcut commands, KS, type in tag, and you can set it how you like. Next thing I'm going to do is use detail lines. I typed in DL as a shortcut. I am going to go from the point at which I started the survey and offset. We looked at this quickly in class the day before we left. I'm going to draw out a detail line here and then type in O spacebar for offset. To tell offset what I'd like it to be, look in the upper left-hand ribbon. I'd like the first offset, because I'm going to draw the window, to be 5'5.5". I can continue doing that offsetting, or I can use copy, touch the line, CO. My next dimension is 7'9". Always from my base point, because I strung the dimension once and measured from there. So continue doing that around the entire perimeter of your home. Once you've offset all of the detail lines, and I'm going to hide the grids by right-clicking, hide in view element, or selecting them all and typing in element hide. We can now place doors and windows in our plan. But first, let's trim some of the detail lines so that they make a little more sense. I typed in TR for trim. I'm going to touch the elements. I'm trying to draw the porch right now that I want to remain. I want this side of the trim to remain and this side of the trim to remain. Same here. Now that represents my porch. I can draw a floor in a minute. I'm going to type in DR for door. I have quite a few doors. More than likely your doors will be somewhere around 32, 34, 36 inches by 80 inches. Try to find a door in that size. And you can move around your plan, hitting the space bar to make the swing correct. I'll do the same thing with your window. I type in WIN. Or of course we can always find elements under the Architecture tab, Wall, Doors, and Windows. I like keyboard shortcut command. WIN is a window for me. I'll worry about the size in a minute. Again, not worrying too much about being perfect while I place the elements in, but getting them in and fixing them later. I'm not going to place the other windows in at this time because I remember when I took the dimensions on my survey, they were for windows on other floors. You can touch the window and edit the type, duplicate it, name it the size of the window you need it to be, hit OK, and then change the width and height here before hitting OK again. From level 1, let's go take a look at our elevations. I'm going to go to my east view, and you'll probably have Revit's automatic 10-foot or 12-foot increments. What you need to do is consider how many levels do you have. In my case, I have the basement, level 1, level 2, an attic, and a roof line. Again, we just surveyed the perimeter and the interior walls of level 1. I look at to determine the heights of the ceiling height at level 1. The ceiling height I have at level 1 is 8'9½". I am going to draw detail line 8'9½ inches just as a guideline. The floor-to-floor dimension that I calculated at the stairway was 9'7", so I adjusted my level from level 1 to be 9'7", which means that I have a floor-to-floor of 9.5, which is pretty shallow. The level 2 of the house I am drawing is 8 feet, so in dimensioning that stairway as well, I get the same because it is a usable attic space. Floor, if we were to draw the ceiling structure between level 1 and the basement, where are our beams? What is the flooring? It's likely that that is probably about the same, maybe a little less if your basement does not have a ceiling height. Which means in this house, we have a pretty low basement. I'm just dimensioning DI. So take a minute and set up your levels. Then we're going to go back to the level 1 plan. Touch a wall. Let's Let's look in the properties. Is it constrained in the left properties browser from level 1 up to level 2? If not, adjust it to where it needs to go. You can also take a look at how this is forming in 3-dimension. I am control tabbing back to the plan. Now I'm going to spend time locating the interior walls. Before we start offsetting in the interior for interior walls, let's use the same method of getting the project walls in and refining them later. I had the other interior wall type pre-made down here as wall type 3. I can right click that, create similar, and begin drafting the walls of the interior. Why don't you go ahead and do that, and we'll pick up with offsetting interior dimensions. Once you've drawn the interior walls, you can start to add wall openings. I have a keyboard shortcut command, WO. I'm going to start with the first string from foyer to kitchen. I offset 7 inches. My next dimension is copying 7 foot 7 inches. 10 feet a half, 10 6 and a half. Thirteen 6, 18 5. One. I'm going to place another wall opening. I can align the edge of that opening using that. And finally, I knew my last dimension was 13 foot 7. And so I had made the kitchen 13.7 prior to this. So using those offset lines, adjust your walls according. Let's do a stair up to level 2 and down to the basement. We're going to go to Architecture, Stair. We're going to look at the left-hand side, and it has a stair going from level 1 to level 2. We're going to start our stair, this one turns, where you begin to go upward. I click, I draw 2 stairs, then I click again. There is another landing. I've drawn that a little incorrectly. I grabbed the stair that needs to move back. I'm still in stair mode. Try that one more time. I pulled it too far back. I'm going to click the page again and hit OK. Stairs in an older home may not be the code, so Revit might automatically generate one too many. We're going to say OK. Now I want one to go to the basement. I click the check mark and I am done. So Revit draws the stairs that are above us dashed. Let's draw the stair to the basement. Under the Architecture tab, stair. I'm going to take a look at where we're drawing the stair. We want to go from the basement level to level 1. Some older houses won't have stairs that are to code, so Revit might include one more riser. We're going to draw the stair as if we are in the basement walking up. So I'm going to start in the basement here. Click once to end that run. Revit draws stairs from the middle. And the landing that I drew to the basement's a little large, so I selected by doing a left to right drag, and then I am simply using my left arrow to push the stairs close to where they need to be. They overhang my doorway, which means my survey of the house has stairs that are not to code. We'll have to fix that. Hit the check mark. Okay. Let's look at the way this is coming out in 3D. Are the stairs the direction you'd like? Yes, I just simply need to change and adjust their widths. To adjust their widths, I'm back in Plan. I'm going to double click on the stair, touch it, and simply pull the tabs, drag the tabs. It's telling me it's not to code. I understand. And on the second landing. I'm removing constraints if it makes it easier to draw. If I realize that I haven't drawn enough risers and runs and risers on the bottom set of the stairs, in the stair edit mode, I can touch the stair, extend it here, and it removes one riser from the top. I'm going to stay there. Okay. I hid my level 1 to level 2 stair to be able to see the basement. So I'm going to hide the basement stair, go into the light bulb, right click the first stair, and hide and view the element. And here we go. Let's finish up this plan by drawing floors, then we'll work in 3D. To draw a floor, I'm in the Architecture tab, under Floor. Let's look for a floor that has a wood joist. The floors in this house are very thin. I see one that's 10 inches. It's probably still too large. It was a 9.5-inch sandwich in the construction. I can go to Pick Lines. I'm going to do the porch first. Choose the lines of my porch. Anytime we are in this magenta type editing, we have to trim all the edges or our volumes will never close. And I'm going to hit OK. And I have a floor. Let's do the same thing for the inside. I can change the thickness of my floor with the same concept of how I did that with the walls. I touch the floor, I edit the type, and then what do? Duplicate. And I'm going to make my entire system based on a 2x8 piece of lumber size. So I'm going to say 2x8 system. Two by 8s are actually 7¼ inches. So let's see, that doesn't give me the thickness I need. I'm going to add a sheet of plywood and wood to the top. mark my plywood 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to move this line up a row. Carpet is on top. I'm looking for something that makes up about 1 more inch. So let's call this wood. And if you see wood flooring, great. This would probably not be an inch. I could have 2 layers of substrate. Just trying to figure out what they would have done in this old house to make a floor this thick. I'm going to leave it here for now though. Okay. If you want to look at your building in section, go to View, Section tab, pull a section maybe through the front door, double click on the triangle, and we start to see our floor thicknesses. See what this looks like in 3 dimension. I still need to fix the level 1 to level 2 stair and adjust the wall that goes beneath that stair. You may also put in ceilings. So I measured my ceiling at 8 foot, 9.5. That is architecture. Ceiling. I can use chipboard. I want to sketch a ceiling. Doing that allows me to pick walls. If I choose pick walls, I can just select every exterior wall, bringing me into a mode where I need to make sure all the lines are trimmed. They are. Hit OK. Let's go to the section to make sure that my ceiling height is at the right height. I can DI dimension. A little too low. Need it to be about 9 inches more. And there we go. If you want to hide the ceiling, you can touch it, element hide. Here's where the sketch of your building comes into play. What I'd like you to do, you can simply, if you have a 2-story house that mimics this same shape, you can grab the exterior walls and allow those to go up to the attic level. Okay. And then from here, we can go to level 2 or the roof plan and underlay level 2 and work on the roof. I'm going to go to level 2. Again, if you created levels and can't find the level it's missing in here, it might be because you need to go to View, Plan Views, Floor Plan, and select anything that shows up in here. Touch it, hit OK, the level will come up for you. I'd like to see an underlay of level 1. I'm going to go into the Properties and under Range Base Level, change None with the tab on the right to level 1. Remember back in the site plan how I had pulled in a site picture of the roof. I hit it. I'm going to go there, select it so that I can copy it into my roof plan. It, along with my sketches, will help me to draw the roof accurately. So I'm in level 2, looking down. It's easier to draw the roof here, even though the roof is on the roof plan eventually, because I can use the walls to help me pick the roof. So the image is a little blurry, but overall, what I understand the roof to be, and I'll draw it here on the right side, is a rectangle with 2 gable roofs rather. This large rectangle is a witch's hat, witch's peak, and you can start to see the way the roof gables on 3 edges of the home. The house does have the jog here as well, which we can't really see because of the roof line below of the porch. So that 8-foot porch is coming out here somewhere. Okay, so that gives me an idea. The best way to approach a roof is to think of the largest shape first. So what shape is largest? For me, it's this square. I'm going to go into the Architecture tab, go to Roof. My footprint is fine. If I pick walls, I can tell Revit how much I'd like the overhang to be. On this house, it is going to be 1 foot. After I adjust that, notice that as I hover on that exterior wall, the dashed lines will draw the roof on the side it needs to. Let's hit OK and evaluate the roof before we start adjusting slopes. Again, this is going to be drawn a little too low when we look at it in 3D. Okay, but actually it looks good. We can then go back to level 2 and look at the locations and widths of the additional roofs that gable into this overall roof. Let's work on just the front one first, and then I'll let you continue on your own roof. In a separate roof by footprint, I'm going to draw a rectilinear roof that is within the plane of that which I'm drawing. Again, if we were doing a complete house survey, we would try to laser the location of each of the ridge lines and where the gable ends on the exterior using a laser. But for today, we're going to use your sketches and base our proportion and measuring knowledge on getting this right. I know that 2 of these sides don't have a pitch, right? It's a gable roof. So I'm going to select those 2 pitches, go into the Properties tab and uncheck Defines Roof Slope, and let the others be as they are. Again, let's look at this in 3D. And it looks okay. If I want to join the roof and draw a wall here, I can do that later as well. At this point, I'm going to bring all of these up to the roof level by selecting them and telling their base level to be the roof line. Or maybe the attic, yes. So the house is becoming shaped in the way it should. Continue on your roof, and we'll come back for the finishing touches. My elevation seems to be flying off into a mist, right at the top. If this is happening to you, just take a look at your elevation markers. The drag tool needs to go all the way through your elevation. If you make the drag go all the way through the plan, rather, you will not have any part of the elevation missing.
So the first thing we need to do is just sign in to your Autodesk account, because I need to use the Insert tab to load the Autodesk family. All right, so let's go to the Insert tab and then load Autodesk family. And I need to type in title blocks, all one word. And you should be able to find a 17 by 22. All right, touch that. Let's hit load. Okay, and then where is it? Then I'm going to go to the View tab and click on the sheet button. Aha, there it is. All right, click 17 by 22 and OK.
That brings me to my unnamed sheet, which Revit has automatically numbered for me. Yours might be A1. I am then going to go to the Properties bar. Scroll up on the project browser, zoom out of my sheet, and then place each of the elevations in that sheet by simply holding the left click mark, and letting it go on the sheet. I'm doing that for every view. We'll definitely have to scale these to fit, and then going up and doing each of the floors that I have. I'm going to put basement, level 1, level 2, and the site plan on my sheet. Then I'm going to work to scale all of these down. Crop regions, looks like some of them have really large crop regions. We'll work on this one first. I'm going to type in CR with keyboard shortcut command. I'm going to make sure that the crop view is turned off so that elements outside of my crop region boundary do not show. If I want to turn off my grid markers, I can right-click, hide in view by category. Might do the same for elevate. Well, let's leave those. If your elevation goes away while you pull in the crop region, it means that when you click on the triangle, this line that shows where you want the elevation to view is outside of the crop region. I'm going to type in CR to remove that block. And I'm also going to hide the 3 walls. I have level 1 as an underlay. I'm going to turn that off by going to the Properties browser, scrolling down until I read Underlay, and then turning the base level to none. That removes the items above. I'm going to zoom out so I can click outside of the view, grab the title to this view, touch the viewport in order to minimize the title, and release. I'll let you do that for each of those and place them on your sheet. I've created elevations and plans at a 1/8 scale. That means I've double-clicked in the viewport, selected the bottom left button on our horizontal, and have selected 1/8 from the menu. These still aren't going to fit on my sheet, so instead of 1 sheet, let's do 2. How do I do that? View, Sheet. I already have the correct one loaded. I hit OK. Brings me to another one. Now Revit only lets me place drawings on 1 sheet. So in order to do this the best and most efficient way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the project browser, expand 103, or your A1. I'm simply going to select the elevations I want on my new sheet, drag them there, and they'll let me place them on that sheet. Notice that when I start to arrange the sheet, the elevations will match up perfectly with the light green hatched line. Just selecting, hovering it over A104, and placing on my sheet. I'd like you to minimize the lines that go across your elevation, but let's do one of these together. You're going to double click in the viewport, select the level, and make sure this says 2D, not 3D. I'm going to turn on the crop region, CR, Notice how those lines are outside, the end of the line is outside of the crop region. If my crop region is past them, these will show up as 3D. You do not move them in 3D. This will take away your floor plans. Turn on the crop region, make sure the crop region overlaps the level, touch the level, and if they're all aligned, you can drag them to the left. And then I'm trying crop region. I don't need the grid lines here either, so I'm going to hide, right-click, hide in view category. That removes them. Also, if I have the levels in one elevation nearby, I can transfer them across. So why don't I hide both level and grid, holding Control, selecting both, right-click, hide in view, category. Here, the same thing, make sure those are 2D, pull them over. And done. Now that we have our plans arranged on a sheet, my plans are at 1/8, my site plan is at 1/16. I want to change the graphic, maybe, of how my lines are cut. You only have to do this with one floor plan. In future studios, this is going to be requested of you. It provides a clean plan. I double-click in the view. You'll notice that I element hid, EH, all of the lines that allowed me to draft the plan. Here, I want to change the visibility graphics so that when I cut the plan, I see a shade, a poche. You can do KS keystroke, which brings up your menu, and type in visibility graphics. I have mine set at VV. Your preset might be VG. You can use that as well. I use VV. Okay, VV. This brings me to a large program of everything that is in my model. I'm not going to worry about any of the tabs for now, but in model categories first, tab, scroll down. I'm going to expand walls by selecting the check mark. And then look at the row of walls all the way to cut patterns. Click this box here once, and then click override. I'm going to change the pattern of my wall when I cut through it here. So I click the arrow under pattern, hit solid. Under color, mine comes up to gray. That's what I want. Okay. Same thing for background. Pattern, solid, color, gray. Okay. Okay. Hit apply, and that allows you to see if it's worked. See how my walls are now pocheted? Hit OK. Don't forget to save often, Control S. The other thing you'll notice here is that my dimensions showing are those that I used to create the survey. I'm going to select a dimension, right-click, select all instances visible in view. That allows me not to have to click through holding Control. I want you to delete those. If you have a pop-up box that says something about constraints, hit OK. I want you just to give me overall dimensions so that I can look at your home survey and your house to determine whether or not you were able to do this accurately. So I DI for dimension, zoom in. If I want to select, which I want you to do, the outer wall, go through tab. This allows you to select different parts of the wall, tab through until it highlights this outside wall, and give me a few outside dimensions. Okay. Let's do that for the whole house. I'm pulling those dimensions so that they do not interfere with my wall tags. If you mess up on a dimension and don't want to redo it, touch the dimension by zooming in. The top bubble allows you to determine the length of the dimension line, while the second bubble allows you to pick a new part of the wall. So if you mess up a dimension, you don't need to redimension, just adjust. Now let's do room names, and we're almost done with this lesson. I'm going to go to the Architecture tab, and I'm going to say Tag Room. This worked when we did this in class, but it's not working now. Let's try another way. Let's hit Room first, and we're going to select Room. I seem to have one room, but that's not accurate. It's that Revit doesn't see total rooms enclosed here, so I'm going to have to separate my rooms to get different rooms. In the Architecture tab, near the Room area, there is a Room Separator. Let's hit that, and we're going to draw lines to separate rooms. So I'm just drawing lines to tell Revit where the boundaries of my rooms are. And that's okay. I'm going to name this room Foyer. I don't want the room number here, so I'm going to go to Properties, edit the type, duplicate, say room tag name. OK, and I'm going to uncheck the show room number, hit OK. Now I have room, I can click room, type in Foyer. Let's hit the room tag under Architecture to continue. My room. Must not have separated that one properly. I want to match the tags. I can MA for match. And then you don't need to fill in any of the details, but if you want kitchen cabinets, remember CM for component model. Let's see if you have a countertop by clicking in the Properties bar and typing in countertop. I'm going to choose the L-shaped. If you don't have these options, load a family, find furniture, and you can load them in that way. I'm going to hit the space bar and then simply pull. You can add as much detail as you'd like. I'm going to adjust the sink to below the window. Good enough for me. You only need to do this for floor level 1. Let's print. I'm going to click outside of the View tab in order to come back to my sheet. Sometimes you get stuck in a view. Here I'm going to hit Control P. I'm saving as a PDF, but the way we get to that is print. I'm going to look for my PDF plotter. You might have Adobe, Microsoft to PDF, or Bluebeam. One student has found this for free. That's great. I'm going to go to Setup. I need to tell it what size sheet I want. Some people haven't had the options of different sheet sizes. If you were able to get in ANSI 17 by 22, select that. If not, 11 by 17 and Fit to Page will be fine. I'm going to select ANSI, zoom at 100. If you can't find that page, just Fit to Page. OK. No. Preview. Looks great. I have the lecture that this responds to, my name of the residence, and what the sheet is. However, I have 2 sheets. How could I make both of them come into one PDF? I'm going to hit the print button, and let's look at the printing options again. See how it says print range, select views. I can hit that and then select. I'm going to turn off views so that only my sheets show. And the top two, you probably only have a few, are plans and elevations. Click both of those. Make sure nothing else is selected. Hit OK. Hit No. And then I want to combine these into a single file. So let's see how that works. Hit OK. It asks me where I want to save them as. Desktop is fine. Save. And then in your PDF program, take a look at the thumbnails in the left-hand corner. Do you have both in the same PDF? Great. In the PDF of our PowerPoint, I go through each of those steps just by reference. There's only a few sheets for today's lesson. We're going to pick up next week with something else to do with our home. So that's it for today.